Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse, the podcast all about animated movies not made by Disney. I'm your host, Octaviano, and today we're talking about an animated feature that won Best Picture back in 2006. It was a 2005 release, of course. You see, I figured I could talk about any horror-based animated feature to kick off October, but I figured, why not one of the few rare non-Disney wins for the Best Animated Film Award? Hence, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Now, what's it about? The movie centers around the famous animated duo, Wallace and Gromit, who, if you're unaware of, they're these stop-motion characters from the company Aardman. I remember them doing a bunch of shorts, well, not really a bunch of shorts on these characters, but they did a few shorts for them within the 90s. These were award-winning shorts that even Cartoon Network aired back in the day as a sort of compilation of a trio of shorts. They pretty much broadcasted it as if it was the Wallace and Gromit movie, but realistically it was three shorts: A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers, and A Close Shave. This movie specifically is more or less similar to those shorts. You have Wallace and Gromit, a man and his dog, doing scientific stuff. They pretty much do a bunch of different odd jobs within each of the shorts and here in the movie, using Wallace's gadgets, which work but are always kind of cartoony, weird. Pretty much you would imagine, like if you would imagine like the silliest way to get something done, that's pretty much how Wallace does it. It works. It really does. But that's pretty much the whole approach to these things. This time around, they're pretty much a pest control group named Antipesto. What they basically are is the whole town is pretty much has their vegetables, all because they're well, of course they eat vegetables, but also because they're getting ready for like this vegetable competition. So of course a bunch of rabbits are coming in to eat the vegetables. Here comes Wallace and Gromit to save the day. That's your general idea of what the movie is. Just Wallace and Gromit stopping rabbits from eating vegetables. Things go haywire though after Wallace meets pretty much like the head of the town, the rich lady who's in charge of the vegetable competition, Lady Toddington, and gets the idea of like, hey, what if I could change these rabbits so that they wouldn't want to eat vegetables anymore? Wallace, doing his typical scientific stuff, accidentally creates the film's title monster, the Were-Rabbit. I don't want to go into too much detail, but then again, it's not a very hard movie to figure out the twist on it, but still, I'll try to avoid going too spoilery. I will explain some spoilers, but I'm not going to go into too much. Hey, this is exactly what happens. So, yeah, that's the general idea. There's a Were-Rabbit. Wallace and Gromit have to stop it. Along the way, Lady Toddington's fiance, Victor Quartermain, is pretty much trying to stop them and the Were-Rabbit through more violent means, because he's pretty much a hunter. And, you know, you'd think that it would be kind of boring, because we've seen hunter characters in movies before, like, you know, Tarzan, and they're usually kind of, I wouldn't say bad villains, but they're usually not interesting villains. Sorry if you can hear that. I'm assuming it's a helicopter, maybe? I don't know, I'm recording this one late. Anyways, you'd assume that it's kind of boring, but, you know, Ralph Fiennes plays the Victor Quartermain character, and he's generally pretty fun in this. He's a funny character, gets a few funny lines, so, you know, it generally works. But of course, the real charm in it is seeing Wallace and Gromit deal with this Were-Rabbit thing, because of course it's like, hey, it's essentially the Wolfman, only it's not the Wolfman, it's the Rabbit Man. And you'd assume that, you know, like, without knowing who these characters are, you'd probably assume that that's cheap kiddie stuff, and of course kids will get a lot out of this, but it is a very cute idea, and it is a funny way to kind of do that, because it's like, hey, this is a movie where there's a vegetable competition. Obviously the big threat will be something that's eating the vegetables, so that's funny, and they always do it in ways that are reminiscent to like classic horror movies, so again, that's a lot of fun. But before I go further, yes, let me talk a little bit about the shorts. So like I said, they were on Cartoon Network. I used to see them a lot as a kid, which is why I wanted to see this movie back when it came out in 2005. It's the movie I ended up watching pretty much for my birthday, almost weeks after it was even out, because I know like by the time I saw it, it was almost out of theaters. But still, I saw it for my birthday because I didn't get a chance to watch it earlier, and, you know, I really wanted to see it. I mean, it was either that or Chicken Little, and I am glad I did not watch Chicken Little for my birthday, because even at that age, because I saw it like pretty much when it hit DVD. I hated Chicken Little, so I'm glad I did not watch that. But yeah, I saw the shorts and I really loved them. I remember as a kid liking A Grand Day Out the most, which is the one, the first short. Pretty much Wallace and Gromit go to the moon because Wallace believes that the moon is cheese, which we've all heard that whole theory. That this short plays on that. There's a rogue robot on the moon that causes some trouble, and it's just kind of a fun idea. Very simple. It's a very simple short, especially considering what comes after this, because then you have The Wrong Trousers, which is actually now my favorite short, and probably my favorite Wallace and Gromit thing that they've ever done. And for most people, that would be the same, because The Wrong Trousers is really this epic, well, not really epic, but it's probably the closest thing you get to an epic Wallace and Gromit story. Like, basically, even the title is kind of misleading because it just makes you think, like, okay, so it's just going to be about the wrong trousers, which is an invention that Wallace makes that is a pants that essentially do all the walking for you. Of course, it goes haywire, but while it does factor into the story, it doesn't, it's not really the main focus of it. There's an evil penguin in there. If you've been to, like, film Twitter, like the film side of stuff, long enough, you've probably come across the scene where Gromit is on, like, a little toy train and he's just going off, like, hitting a bunch of stuff. And, oh, well, this is on the frame here. I just noticed that I had that on frame. Oh, well. But yeah, like, there's like a little toy train chase, and Gromit is on it, and he's constantly putting on, like, the little toy train tracks, and it's just a really fun and creative scene. I love it. It is definitely a great sequence. And then you get A Close Shave, which is the one that most people seem to forget of the original three shorts. At least I've noticed. That one's also a good one. Not that it's... none of these are bad. They're all really good shorts. And that one kind of continues, like, the whole mystery thing. Because with the second one with the penguin, there's kind of a mystery element. The penguin's kind of a serial killer, kind of. He's more of a thief, but he is essentially stealing from them. But yeah, A Close Shave, I mean, it's a good one. That one's the one that introduces us to Shaun the Sheep, who, of course, got his own spinoff. Whether or not that one's connected to this, I've never been too sure, but I generally don't bother thinking about it too hard. It's best to just roll with it. So yeah, you got Shaun the Sheep, you got a mechanical dog, spoilers, and of course more murder and mystery, and Wallace even finds, like, his perfect match, but then kind of doesn't. It's a typical thing in these Wallace and Gromit stuff. Like I said, it's fine. It is a really good one too, but it's usually the one that most people seem to think the least about when it comes to these original shorts. Beyond this, Wallace and Gromit, of course, has the movie, which I'll be talking more about in a bit. They've done some shorts like the Cracking Contraptions. They've done some promos. The only full-length, it's only one full-length movie, but they've done at least one more short after this that is pretty much running like for like a half hour, like these other shorts did, which is A Matter of Loaf and Death. That's the one I've only seen a couple of times, just because with that one it wasn't aired on TV as much as the other three were. That one's also another really good one, really dark again. It involves like a serial killer Brad mascot. That's wild, but it also has some really fun stuff. Like eventually they even referenced the classic 66 Batman movie, which is great as far as I'm concerned. It's always great to reference that of all things. But yeah, they do that. So yeah, it's a bunch of solid stuff that Wallace and Gromit has done. It's a well-beloved franchise for a reason. It's silly, it's cute. A lot of people, this definitely has its fans, and for good reasons. It's not like the most iconic shorts around. It's not Mickey Mouse, it's not Bugs Bunny or whatever, but Wallace and Gromit definitely have had their time to shine, and it's kind of hard to hate the duo. So obviously getting a movie, it's pretty hard to hate that. Before going forward, I just want to point out that we sadly haven't seen much as of late, just because the voice of Wallace, Peter Sallis, I hope I'm saying that right, passed away in 2017, sadly. So yeah, unfortunately they haven't really done much. I've heard that they recently started doing some new ads with a new voice, which, okay, hopefully that means that we'll get more stuff with them, but it's still sad to hear that essentially an era is over, an era of having that original voice of Wallace is gone. But hey, if they continue on with doing more stuff, I mean, that's great. I just hope that they continue doing some quality work like they did with this. And yeah, I just want to say rest in peace to Peter Sallis.
The fact is, I'm just crackers about cheese.
But yeah, so you get this movie, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Rare Rabbit, a very horror-esque animated movie. I mean, it's not really scary, but you can tell that these people really love the horror movies, like the old horror movies, which is what this is mostly taking off of. You see a lot of like the animation, the angles, the way they frame stuff, the music even at times just feels like that really classic horror, and it's fun. Of course, it never goes too far that a kid can't watch it, but it is something where it's like, yeah, if you're with a kid, like a really young kid, they might get a little tense, not full on scared, because of course your big monster in this is a giant rabbit. But you just need to keep it in mind. And yeah, it's just a really fun movie. Like, even watching it all these years later, everything I loved about it the first time I saw it is still true to this day. I mean, the humor, it's classic Wallace and Gromit. There's a lot of little puns, smart references, well done homages to other stuff. Like, you get again, not to spoil it on who becomes the Rare Rabbit, but you do see like a transformation of the Rare Rabbit, and it's like very much like a classic werewolf transformation, but it's really cool, and it's, well, cool's the wrong word, but it is really neat to see it. It's just a lot of fun, especially seeing the Rare Rabbit howl like a wolf man, and then you see like little rabbits howling along with it. You see the townspeople reacting to the Were Rabbit like it's this much stronger beast, but realistically it's because they're like, look, we got vegetables, we cannot afford to lose it, and of course everyone's kind of selfish about it. It's, like, you even get a few people who are like, come on guys, it's not that serious. Like, you get the officer, like, who even has a joke name. His name is like PC Macintosh. It's pretty much like, okay, look, we really shouldn't even be doing these vegetable competitions because you guys are all selfish or whatever. Like, it's during like the town scene, and it's just a lot of cute little fun humor. They even throw in a South Park reference in there. I don't know how many people have ever caught that, because it's very in your face about it, but it doesn't, like, no one says like, oh look, they killed whoever this kid is. But yeah, at one point towards the end, you do see like a little kid that resembles Kenny getting killed. Well, not really getting killed, but doing like the same motion that Kenny would do whenever he gets killed on South Park. So stuff like that is always neat to watch. But of course it's also neat because they do it in a way that's so well that even if you don't know exactly what it's referencing, you won't be lost. Like, it's not like a lot of American animated movies that do it and you're just like, yeah, I get what you're doing. It's not like that. It is a very well done thing. The story really flows nicely. Like, I've heard some people complain that this goes on a little too long because they're so used to the shorts just being like 20 minutes or 30 minutes and then the story's wrapped up. I'm like, I gotta disagree. This one it flows really nicely. Like, it's just a clean hour and 25-minute movie that's including the credits, and everything flows very nicely. Like, again, much like with something like Shrek or just other stuff that I've talked about, the movie tells its story and it just goes by it so well without wasting your time on it. It's never like, okay, now we gotta do this or that just to waste your time. Like, no, it introduces an idea, it goes through with it, it shows what the characters are doing to handle that. That fails, okay, let's go through this. That fails, okay, let's do this. And it just goes at a nice, smooth pace. So you never really feel like it's trying too hard to reach that 80-minute mark. Like, they don't do any pointless songs, they don't do any pointless story beats. Everything that happens serves the story well of essentially the Wolfman, but for kids. And yeah, it's just a really fun movie. And that it won the best Oscar. I mean, I know part of that must have been because there was no Pixar movie that year, and the Disney movie that did come out was very weak. Again, Chicken Little. But even then, I feel like this would have been a strong contender even if a Pixar movie had been released that year, because realistically, it is such a good movie. The animation is great. I mean, if you've ever seen an Aardman movie, they have a very, like, of course, stop motion movies have a very neat look to them just because they're essentially stuff that you actually have in real life moving. But it's still always very neat to see it, and especially because you can see like the little thumbprints on the characters if you look close enough. So just seeing that in motion, seeing the characters act, react, all that stuff, the animation, definitely some of the best I've seen for any of the movies that we've done so far. Honestly, like, well, there's other stop motion companies that have probably done it better. None have made it feel as personal and clean and as neat as Aardman does. So I just love him for it. I mean, I know that there's other studios like Leica who do really good stuff, and I'm not dissing them. I mean, they got some really impressive stuff that they've done, but still, I've always just loved the little touches that an Aardman stop motion movie would have. But yeah, you get some new fun characters out of Lady Toddington, who's voiced by Helena Bonham Carter. You know, at the time she was with Tim Burton. I don't think they still are. I think they separated. But between this and her performance in Corpse Bride same year, this was the one that was a little more fun. I mean, it's a little more basic because it's essentially just a love interest. But I'm fine with what they do with it. It's still cute, and I'm glad that because at one point they wanted to have her end off similarly to the character in A Close Shave that Wallace fell in love with. So I'm glad that they didn't go that route because it would just be kind of pathetic and lame, honestly. Ralph Fiennes as Victor Quarterman. Again, it's a really fun character. I love the sequence where he's trying to fight Wallace right before the Were-Rabbit shows up. It's just really... I mean, it's old school comedy, so it's just a really goofy, uptight not parody, but poking fun at those uptight people who think they're really good just because they're like high class or whatever, but realistically they're just a bunch of schlubs. But of course, the one character that I haven't really touched on, and that's because it's kind of a spoiler, but again, it's pretty easy to see where this is going. You have Hutch the Rabbit. Hutch the Rabbit is a character that essentially one of the rabbits that Wallace tries experimenting on to stop them from eating vegetables, and he ends up taking a little too much of Wallace's habit for cheese, actually starts speaking English, and he's just all around. I mean, it's a cute little character because it's mini Rabbit Wallace, and it's just really funny what they do with him. Eventually he starts helping out Antipesto to stop the Rare Rabbit. You do see him trying to interact with people as if he's Wallace. He does like the little thing that Wallace does where he's like, cheese. Yeah, it's a really cute character, and I just love that. Honestly, again, really great movie. Though, and this is the part that I hate to talk about just because it's sad, this movie was not released without tragedy, because unfortunately with Aardman, even though they ended up winning the award, even though they made a great movie, when this thing released, there was a fire at Aardman, so a lot of the stuff that they had for like shorts or their previous work was gone. Now granted, in a way, it was a blessing for this movie because a lot of the stuff for this movie was on tour just to show off like, okay, this is what we have at, I think, like various museums or something like that. So the stuff from this movie was saved, but the stuff from the other stuff, unfortunately not. And that even includes the movie Chicken Run. Had this been released earlier, because originally this was supposed to be... Dreamworks wanted this first before Chicken Run, if I'm not mistaken. But they wanted to really make sure, like, hey, look, we want to know that we can actually do a movie, a full-length movie, before we even do our beloved characters that way. So let's do Chicken Run first, and then we'll do Wallace and Gromit. Had it been done the other way, it would have been Wallace and Gromit that lost everything, whereas Chicken Run would have lost nothing. Not that Chicken Run losing everything, is a good thing. Of course, it's a bad thing, but I just want to say that at least they didn't lose everything Wallace and Gromit related. So at the very least, that's something to be thankful for. Now, of course, where does this rank in the franchise of Wallace and Gromit? For me personally, it's the second best thing that they've ever done. For a while, it was my first, but again, I've grown to appreciate the Wrong Trousers more and more to a point that I love the Wrong Trousers a little bit more than this, just because it has some really neat stuff. That train, trust me, that toy train sequence, like if you've never seen that, one of the best chase scenes in any movie. And I'm not even just talking about cartoons. I'm talking about live action, actual chase scenes from live action movies. Of course, the Rare Rabbit, it's not that it's because, of course, I've been praising it. It's not bad. It's just, it's a little below that just because some of it is, I don't want to say going through like the motion of a Hollywood movie, because it's not. But you can tell that while it doesn't necessarily struggle with being a full-length movie, it doesn't have the same charm as it would on a short, especially considering that while I do love the characters of like Victor is not the penguin from the Wrong Trousers, so that's all I can really say on that front. But the bigger question for me would be, do I want more animated movies on Wallace and Gromit? And the answer is, yeah, honestly, I wanted more movies out of this stuff. And not just in terms of like, okay, well, I like this one, so I want more. But just because I just love these characters so much that even if they never made another movie, I would love to see more shorts on them. Of course, like I said before, unfortunately, the original actor did pass away. But hey, look, they got a substitute now. He does it pretty well. So honestly, why not do another short? Why not do another movie? Of course, I don't want to force them if they don't know what to do with that. But I would love to see it regardless. It's just something that I would want, because The Christopher Rabbit is a really solid movie. The animation, like I said, is great. The humor is great. This is one of those movies that I feel like teenagers will probably hate just because it's a little too childish, but the stuff that is really great about it is stuff that I wouldn't say they wouldn't get, but most teens wouldn't really appreciate until they're older. Just like the clever wordplay or all that stuff. I just feel like more adults tend to enjoy that more so than kids. I mean, teens more specifically. So yeah, this is something where I'm like, watch it as an adult. Watch it with your young kids. If you're a teen and you love it, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm just saying that there's a lot of teens that go into that edgy mindset. So maybe wait a while. Hopefully you do like it, but if you don't, give it a few years, rewatch it, and you'll probably find yourself loving it, because it is a really funny movie once you just stop being picky about it. I'll say, but it is a really neat thing to watch. All the little monster references, the Wolfman stuff, having the were-rabbit, just the were-rabbit in general, the animation with him being this fuzzy clay creature is just all neat to watch. And yeah, I'm glad that this one Best Animated Film, and is one of the few non-Disney movies, which realistically there should be more non-Disney movies. Not to slight Disney, but there's a lot more animated movies that have been out, over the years that never got their due. I'm glad this is one of the few that got their due, because it really does deserve it. Again, I would love to see more Wallace and Gromit stuff. Maybe a movie, maybe a short. I don't care. I would love to see more Wallace and Gromit. So yeah, that's all I really got on that. Keep on listening to me this month. I'll be talking about more horror-related animated films. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for listening. This has been Octaviano Macias, host of I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse. If you enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe to my channel. That's SciCam Films. Add this to your podcast list. Or you could even support me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/SciCams. That's SAICAMS. www.patreon.com/SciCams. Again, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.
With a big trap. By Jove! He's got it!
Hey, just wanted to say thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Comment below if you had any thoughts on this. And if you want to support me even more, there's always the option of Patreon. Yes, I have a Patreon. Patreon would be a great way to help me grow this channel, as it's a great way to get equipment, a great way to let me know what you guys like, and it's a great way to help me financially. Just saying, the more I have on Patreon, the more time I'll have for these videos. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.